Hi, today we will be talking about the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. My name is Lauren, and let's dive right in. So at first, I just want to show you guys a little bit of a summary. So what we're going to try to establish is how pyruvate is made into acetyl-CoA. So it has to go through three different processes: the decarboxylation, oxidation, and then transfer to CoA. In order for any of this to happen first, this has to have the TPP transferred into the carbon ion of TPP. That'll yield a hydrogen ion every time that occurs. The carbon ion of TPP can then react with the pyruvate in order to yield hydroxyethyl TPP and carbon dioxide. So with this first step here, the enzyme pyruvate dehydrogenase, the enzyme is used in order to create this, and the two hydrogen ions are also utilized. Next step, the hydroxyethyl TPP, the ionized form, that will interact with the lipoamide, and that together will yield the carbon ion of TPP again, plus the acetyl lipoamide. This is also done with pyruvate dehydrogenase, that enzyme. Pyruvate dehydrogenase tends to use TPP as a coenzyme. The next step, we need to take our coenzyme A plus our acetyl lipoamide. Those two together will create the product of acetyl-CoA and dihydrolipoamide. This uses the enzyme dihydrolipoyl transacetylase. It uses that enzyme to create it. It uses the coenzymes of lipoic acid and acetyl-CoA in order for this to be able to be made possible, basically. Now, as a regeneration, the dihydrolipoamide, that will react with FAD to create that lipoamide. So that lipoamide is now restored, and it also yields the product of FADH2. In order for our bodies to kind of be happy with that, our coenzyme NAD+ will come in and react and create FAD plus NADH plus the hydrogen ion. That way it's kind of stable within our bodies. This is done through the enzyme dihydrolipoyl dehydrogenase. So it uses all three coenzymes, FAD, NAD+. Sorry, two coenzymes, not three. Okay. So kind of wrapping this up as a bigger picture, I took this from the textbook because I feel like this is super cool that it like just kind of combines everything together. So you have your three complexes, or your big complex right here, composed of your three active sites. So you have E1, E2, and E3 active sites. So kind of starting it off for step one, pyruvate is decarboxylated to form the hydroxyethyl TPP using the enzyme pyruvate dehydrogenase. So you can kind of see in this middle top structure here, you have the hydroxyethyl TPP formed, and you still have your lipoamide arm hanging out in the middle. That brings us to step two. The lipoamide arm will move into the active site of the hydroxyethyl TPP. Going down to the bottom right corner, the step three, this is where the enzyme pyruvate dehydrogenase comes in. It'll catalyze the transfer of the two carbon group to the lipoamide arm to form the acetyl lipoamide complex. So this complex is hanging out in the active site 2 right now, E2. Moving to step 4, our coenzyme CoA is added. It'll take the 2 carbon group right there, and it'll attach it onto the CoA enzyme, yielding acetyl-CoA. We are left with our lipoamide arm, which will then swing into the E3 portion. So that is hanging out in that E3 portion with the FAD. So then Oh, throughout that process before, like when it moves into the second active site, it uses the enzyme dihydrolipoyl transacetylase. That will create the acetyl-CoA, essentially. That enzyme is used. Okay, so now we're in the E3 active binding site. The dihydrolipoyl dehydrogenase, that will catalyze the oxidation of the dihydrolipoamide acid. It's a mouthful. So going over here, that's what 5 is. So now that arm is returned to normal. And then step 6, in order to kind of reset all of our electrons and protons, that gets transferred to the NAD+, yielding the NADH and hydrogen ion. And now the complex is reset, ready for another pyruvate to bind. Another thing I just kind of wanted to point out before I ended this is, if you look, the complex is very close in proximity. So this will kind of keep those side reactions at bay, right? Because we have this complex that has 3 active binding sites. What happens if something else comes in, you know? But because they're so close together, the chances of other things coming in to perform a side reaction is very low, just because they are so very close. So yeah, thanks. And this